Hey, welcome to the Second Shift Review. I'm Ethan. Joining me today is my lovely wife, Ashley. Today we're doing a movie review of the 2017 British drama film Cotton Wool. This is a short film directed by Nicholas Connor. He was 17 when this movie was in filming and finishing directing and everything. This has a lot of association with the stroke advocacy groups and stuff. Let's talk about it.
Yep.
So this movie is about, it follows the story of a 7-year-old boy, single mom, and she works really hard, and he has an older sister.
Teenage older sister.
Yeah, they don't specify. Yeah, she's, I would say,
teenage.
16 maybe. She's kind of rebellious. The mom has a stroke when she's at home, and it happens in front of the 7-year-old boy, which
he was previously coloring a picture
mm-hmm.
that shows, which I think is important and relevant to the film because it shows his mom standing up, but also shows his sister and himself.
Mm-hmm.
And then thinks she's acting out, and he doesn't know exactly what to do.
She's yelling, and her face is contorted.
He's like,
because of the
Jen.
stroke, and he thinks that she's a monster, and he's scared and doesn't know what to do, which is heartbreaking.
So, when the film, after she has her stroke, it kind of jumps into, I guess, the recovery. She's not fully recovered, but
yeah.
it jumps to her being in the hospital with her kids and
kind of the doctor. It's like a rehab center.
Yeah, rehab.
Because it's not their house from before, and it's where they can look after her in case she. Because the nurse mentions that she's probably going to have more strokes.
Yeah.
And to watch over each other, and if her strokes last for more than 5 minutes,
she told the boy that.
Yeah, to get help. She tries to address this with the older daughter, but the older daughter doesn't. She comes across as she doesn't care, and she doesn't want to be involved in what's going on.
In the opening credits, it just seemed like a typical, you would say, disagreement between a teenager
mm-hmm.
and their parent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't.
Clean up your
room. You're ungrateful. You're not.
You
it's just that typical teenage drama, I guess. But
don't tell me what to do, kind of thing.
Exactly, and I think the doctor in the rehab center explains it very well to that to the son
to relax, not get overwhelmed. And the most important thing is to stick together. And
the daughter just kind of walks out.
Yeah. On
her and Sam.
I think, in my opinion, the daughter, she might feel guilty that her constantly causing stress and stuff for her mom might have led to the stroke, and that she feels guilty about it, and she doesn't want to take responsibility for it. And she also doesn't know how to cope with the situation she's in now.
Well, and she also, I guess they've always been taken care of, and now she's having to take care of the mom. And that's one thing the doctor mentions, is that you're going to have to, like, step up, and actually took her to the side, and, like, you're going to have to, you have the, which I'm glad that they addressed the number mentioned.
Yeah.
Because
the advocacy group.
Yeah. The Stroke Association to help them through the situation. And it's not just that, it's a family, it's a group.
She encourages her to look more into it.
Yeah.
They have a lot of answers in case she has questions.
Not just that, but just to be there for one another. One interesting thing I was really intrigued by was how Sam, the son, helped his mom as much as he could.
Yeah, he really steps up for being 7 years old.
Yeah.
He goes does way more than he should.
Well, and of course,
Mainly because he's taking up the slack of his sister kind of not wanting to do it, and I would say not mentally being ready to do it.
yeah. And I think she's not in denial, but she can't, it hasn't hit her
Yeah.
mentally.
She wants to just put it away like it's not happening.
Yeah, and that she feels like she's already doing enough, more than she should. And she says in there, "I need a life too."
Mm-hmm.
When the doctor comes back to visit,
she feels like this is happening to her and not like it's only affecting her and no one else.
And also, that's another thing with just being a teenager. You already feel that way anyway. So, I think, I'm not going to say this was harder on the Sam.
The younger boy, it's from an adult's perspective, it's really sad because a little boy shouldn't be thinking about taking care of his mom and going out in the snow and trekking to get food and
just to get milk
and stuff. That shouldn't be his task. From his perspective, he's helping and he's doing more than his part to help his mom, and he feels emboldened.
And not just, as Jenny says that she does her share, she's also not mentally there for her brother where she needs to be.
She, at the very least, needs to take care of him a little bit because he's so young.
Yeah, and when she does have a relapse of another stroke, when the son calls,
Jenny's not there.
Yeah, she's out with her friends, and she claimed that she was only gone an hour, but she can't go anywhere.
Yeah, she feels like she's in prison with her mom and has to take care of her mom constantly, and she can't have her own life.
And cook or clean,
which is a teenager's point of view.
Well, it's not just that; it's just the emotional thing as well. Like, she can't be there, for herself because she hasn't let herself deal with the situation. And as the doctor addresses again, the Stroke Association hotline, and she addresses with Jenny that, she's not being there for her mom and her brother, especially her brother, and she's just going off.
And not being there could lead to negligence, and her mom could die if there's no one there to help her.
I especially like the scene with the speech therapist because it showed that it's a slow process, and it really described the therapy to get to that point of speaking again, and little things like that you would take for granted. But
I like the way the therapist puts it, that her brain, the connections are broken, and that she's got to remend those connections. That it's not they're not broken forever. That they can be fixed. It's just a lot of work.
Later on in the film, it shows the son. It shows Sam doing the cards with her, not the daughter. So I thought that was interesting. And also when she does, I believe it's the doctor who she uses the therapy talk machine.
Yeah, the speech machine.
Yeah, to address that, her true feelings. There's a lot that she's keeping up, that Rachel is keeping bottled inside. She's like, I don't feel like I'm a woman anymore or a mom anymore. She's not able to take care of her kids. So there's that whole thing she's feeling. Kind of a loss of identity. And just even asking for help. Something that I thought was really touching was usually a mom and a daughter are really, they're sometimes close, but even for the basic things of, I guess she started her period, Rachel did, and wasn't able to go to the facilities
'Cause she can't walk.
Yeah,
on her own.
to really take care of it. And her daughter wasn't there. So I think that was a moment that you realize, oh wow, this is just crushing. As the movie progresses, Sam does another drawing, and it's just his mom in the wheelchair
You made a good
with
point.
him.
It shows the new picture of it's just him and his mom in a wheelchair and no Jenny
Yeah.
because she's not there anymore, and that his mom is in a broken state and he's, as he was before, the same. And then it pans down to the previous picture showing that they used to be a happy family together and they used to work through things together, and now they're fractured.
And that's another important thing is, I mean, this is quite a bit of a movie. But I just think it's just showing how much the son has stepped up, how much Sam has stepped up.
Yeah.
So when what was it? When the doctor was there with the aide, he was asking Sam about what he wanted to be.
After she has her second stroke,
Yeah.
I think she's a nurse or like a helper person.
Yeah.
There's also it doesn't address who he is, but I think he's like some sort of advocate or like social worker. He goes and talks to Sam about how he's doing and stuff after his mom's third stroke, because they mentioned she has another one in the hospital, and he asks him. He says that he wants to be a spaceman, and he says, "Yeah, I want to be an astronaut, but I don't want to do that anymore. I want to help my mom.
I want to take care of her."
Yeah.
And I think that's, that just speaks not a lot to his character. It's just, I think there is a big age difference when dealing with tragedy in this kind of circumstance.
Well, and young kids, they adapt to situations very quickly, and they don't dwell on things very long. Just whatever new scenario it is, they're ready to just take on what's happening, and they're ready to just do what needs to be done instead of trying to have to adjust to it.
And then Jenny gets into a fight when she's out with her friends again, because she doesn't want people to know that her mom is having these, is
her mom
incapable
is,
of walking and speaking, and she's having to take care of the house.
She doesn't want everybody to know that her mom's a burden.
Oh, yeah.
Now. And someone starts making fun of her mom, and she takes it really personally.
She addresses, I think it's a lack of, something that really stood out to me was when Jenny gets into a fight. Previously, her, Sam and Rachel were in the church, and I think that's kind of when she got into that fight, because the grocer lady ran into and dropped off milk, which I thought was sweet, but also it pulled Jenny aside and spoke with her, and kind of expressed.
She says that she lost her mom when she was young, and that she kind of knows how hard it is to go through this as a teenager and stuff, and that at least she still has her mom who's still alive.
And so, accept her for her, accept it, and love her for, love her as she is, even if she's not able to, deal with the deal with the whole, it is a big burden. But she also addresses how, even in the community, that many years ago, people would be more helpful. And not so lack of compassion, because we're all so busy with our own lives, and I think that's really important.
I kind of take offense to that. I don't disagree with it completely. I think it's people, they don't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
Is what it is. And so they want to just they want to suffer in silence and try and overcome things on their own. And nowadays, since so much stuff is going on, if someone does ask for help, it's harder for that plea for help to get recognized because there's so much other stuff going on. Like a long time ago, if someone in the town had a stroke, everybody would have known about it, and everybody would like, oh, do they need help or not? Nowadays, it's, oh, I heard they had a stroke. Okay, what else is going on in the news and today and stuff? There's so much information coming so quickly that the plea for help kind of gets lost in the shuffle. That's my opinion. That's my take on it. It's not that people don't care. It's just the pleas for help get overwhelmed.
I think there is a lack of compassion. I kind of agree and disagree with your statement, but just with the whole circumstances that we are living in currently right now, I think this is fundamental number one. And I think we've kind of gone back to those grassroots of compassion. And
I think
I mean, it's just with technology and stuff, we get so caught up in media and just all this like putting on a show versus checking on your neighbor. And I think that's one thing that throughout even
everything with the pandemic going on, I think people are nowadays going to be more inclined to checking on their neighbors and family and stuff, and they're not going to be so self-centered as they have been in the past, in my opinion.
Because we're not so, I don't know to use it.
I think the world has changed.
Yeah, it has. It's gotten, I don't know, it's kind of gotten into a better, like the movie, you know, just even bringing the glass of milk to your neighbor, you know, when they had a hard time. It's just those little things, I think, that were really, it's just a human kindness. But, and then one of the saddest parts for me was when the boy read, as a mom.
Was reading to himself.
To himself. I mean, that was the hardest.
That she can't read to him.
It's those little things that are hard to deal with, especially for her. And, you know, she's crying in the background. She's trying to be strong.
And that's the point where Jenny finally comes to grips with what's going on, and she goes to her mom and apologizes for how she's been acting, and
they understand each other, and they like have a heart-to-heart saying, I need you, I love you. They both need each other. And she needs her mom, but her mom also needs her. And I think that's a really heartfelt moment. And it's good to see that. You know, and previously there was, you know, tension way before this.
A kind of a typical mom-daughter tension.
But that she's grown.
One thing that I thought was really good in this movie is the symbolism that they have in certain scenes. And the one that hits me the most is there's a scene where Sam is dusting and cleaning up, and he knocks over a statue of the Virgin Mary, and he breaks the head off of it, and he gets real upset, and Jenny comes and talks to him and said, hey, we can fix it. It's not going to be like it was, but it can be fixed to where it'll be almost as good. And so they glue it back together, and they have fun, and they have like a brother-sister moment, and I think that it symbolizes that the Virgin Mary is, that's how Sam sees his mom, and that the statue fell and broke its head off is kind of symbolism of her, and her mind is not how it was, and that if they work together, they can mend her mind. And I think that's the symbolism of that scene, and I thought it spoke volumes.
For me, there was two things, especially at the latter part of the film. There is that where they all come together. I just have to say the music score and just the shots and just the angles of where you look at certain things is amazing. But one thing that caught my attention was at the very latter end, I guess you could say, was after they fix the statue, they color together. Jenny and Sam kind of color together. She's coloring she's drawing a portrait of him, it looks like, but yet he colors
Their whole family
and the mom in the wheelchair. And one thing, as you know, it shows them individually, but then it goes, kind of fades them out and then heads towards the mom. And it shows her kind of in this daydream of where her eyes are closed, and
like
it's
a
vision of clarity and just being free. Previously, when she was having, I guess, the third stroke, it was very blurry, and she was like screaming for Sam,
and she was
Sam,
confused,
and it disoriented.
Yeah.
But this one, she's out and she's free, and she's breathing her air, she's walking, she's content, she's happy, and then as that scene of her daydreaming, she opens her eyes, and then it shows the back of her children's head, that they're working together and that they're smiling, and there's this peace, but there's also this innocence, and that comes, I think, mostly from Sam, because that there's this innocence, and the coloring shows that is a story from a child, that not everything there, it might be, there's no rain in his portraits, there's only sunshine and smiling, and all progressive of his 3 drawings. But I think for me that's very, telling, and then that kind of opens it up to the one of my favorite scenes is just them walking and him laughing, and I think it's a story about his mom and the sister, but I think it's a story about Sam.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that kind of leads into at the end of the credits, it mentioned how in England and Wales that there are many children under the age of 19
and even under age 7,
under 9, that are dealing with this situation and
on their own.
And of course, this is a single mom, so I mean, the situation wouldn't happen. It would be way different. But I think that's the point.
I think in different countries other than England, it might even be worse, as in like poverty, and because it kind of appeared in the beginning of this movie that the mom had a pretty good job and stuff, and they were pretty well taken care of. If this would have happened to someone who was on the verge, on like being poor, and she just barely had enough money to take care of her kids, the kids probably would have ended up being taken away and put into foster care, and their family would have been broken up, and she would have been put into a nursing home, and there's a lot of scenarios that this could have happened, and not in a good light. I would say this relatively ends well, but it doesn't end well for a lot of people.
Well, and that's another thing too. It's just, I think the whole point of this movie, when it goes back into kind of the last scene, when it opens up into, I guess Sam was just been brought home.
Yeah.
There's the idea of cotton wool and this kind of protecting and innocent and compassion, that the mom is the protector, but now the children are kind of the protector, and that, it's, I don't know, maybe I'm just more, I don't know, I enjoy it because I am a mom, so I can't, this would be difficult in any kind of situation, but it's also, at first I thought it was about the lost identity for the mom, and trying to figure out how she copes with this, but I think it really shows that
the kids,
that not just the kid, I think it focuses on Sam and the compassion that we should have as a child has.
Yeah.
For me. But like I said, I
think the director, he was 17 when he did this, and I think he's very, very talented for such a young age. He did a really good job with this.
He's able to have deep attention to facial expression through character development, and the angles, and also
he portrays exactly what she's feeling without her ever speaking and everything.
And I think it's just amazing, and how all the cast work together to make that.
I like how that he brought in people who's had experiences with strokes and stuff. The social worker, therapist lady who comes, her mother had a stroke when she was young in school, and she came home to her mother being on the floor for hours with her 2 or 3 year old brother running around, not knowing what to do. So it's extreme attention to detail and everything that everyone brought into this movie and stuff, and I can see why it's won a bunch of awards and stuff, and it probably will win more awards.
For me, it was just, it wasn't just yes, the character development is great, the acting is great. For me, it was just the directing and the angles and the music. All of those things made me feel even more inspired. It put me in her mind. It put me in that situation. And of course, I haven't seen a short film like this in a very long time. And it didn't feel like a short movie to me.
Yeah.
A short film. It felt very long. It felt...
It gets its point across and stuff.
Yeah, and I just love the reference to how this was inspired by, this is true, this is happening. And brings more people aware to the situation. And I think that's of course that's the point, but I think one of the points is that we all need to be more compassionate to each other and look at things through the eyes of a child.
Yeah.
But of course I'm kind of soppy and I might have cried a little bit in this.
Yeah, it's very
but it's very good.
Emotional movie.
Yes, it threw me.
I think it's very good, and I think everyone should get a chance to see it.
Yeah.
It's very thought-provoking and poignant to today's times and stuff.
And I don't know, I really love this film. For me, it's been a while since I've seen anything that gut-wrenching. I think anyone can, everyone in this film, I think every person can relate to it because every person can be that grocer or that mother.
And they can help.
Or that father. And it's not just necessarily, it's just a single mom film. It's not. I think this is for everyone. And that to be just more compassionate. So
yeah.
And to bring awareness. And I like how they had that stroke association.
Yeah. They
prevalent
were,
in
they were
that.
Big, helped on this movie and stuff.
So.
Tell us what you think in the comments. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for watching the video. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Now.